we're not live.
And we're not live. Bill.
Sean.
Got to do a little intro here.
Okay.
So we're about to undertake a 3-part series around the topic of being a comp strategist. And this is something that we fundamentally believe on Comp and Coffee and here at Pay Factors, the generous benefactor
Bill Coleman
of us opening up these mics and doing what we do every other week. We believe that every comp analyst or every person in comp has the ability to become a comp strategist. And what we mean by that is 3 things. And we're going to cover each of these 3 things in a separate podcast to add a little bit more context to it, dive a little deeper into the topic. But generally what it means is you have technology that is your analyst. So you're organized with the most recent real-time data that can deliver the results that might have previously taken a lot of time, manual effort, participation in things, being responsive to the seasonality away. And so what does that do? That doesn't replace your job. That actually frees you up to be more thoughtful and strategic. When you can do that, you can communicate the value and mechanics of compensation with others. So they are fully aligned, hopefully then, or at least you start to align with them on what is compensation, why does it matter, how can we be smarter about this? And then finally, and this is where Bill comes in, you become a strategic business ally. By freeing up your time and having technology be your analyst and communicating it well across the board, you can start to better align with more strategic business initiatives and talking the language of executives. You can earn your seat at the table.
Bill, you are such a star.
Yeah. And for my fan base of 1, I will be on all 3 podcasts, not just the last one.
I did not mean to imply that. I meant that's your,
I just want
it's your
area
wheelhouse.
of expertise.
It's your wheelhouse, Bill.
All right.
Also, shameless plug, we're obviously over the next 3 episodes, we get into all these topics very deep, but we also just recently released a great overview ebook on this topic. So if it's something that you would like, it's free. So send us a note, coffee@payfactors.com, and we'll send it to you.
And in doing all this, we view this as the start of a conversation. Mm-hmm. There are things that we feel are almost certain that are changing in compensation that if you don't keep up, you're not going to keep up. You're not going to have the ability to do these things we talk about. But as we get further along in this, it's definitely more of an open conversation because it's going to be becoming a strategic business ally is going to mean different things to different people in different organizations. We want to help with that. We want to help guide that, but we need the input of the community. So there's going to be events, virtual and real, that we are putting on and attending, that we want to hear your thoughts. We're going to be doing surveys on this, so we're going to be diving into research on it. We will do more of this throughout the year and put our thoughts out there. We are very interested in yours, though. We are very interested in you walking down the hallway, talking to employees, talking to managers, and bringing that back to the community so that we can all do better.
So more than just a podcast, kind of a podcast-rooted conversation.
It's a podcast that gives you homework.
It's a good way of putting it. Look at you, Bill.
Oh, thank you. It's in my wheelhouse.
So without further ado, let's launch into the first one. Namaste, Bill.
Hey, what?
Yeah, we're starting out different today.
You confused me.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Taking a deep breath before we got going. Felt my relaxing spirit come through.
It's usually, how you close out the class.
We're starting it that way.
All right, okay.
We're relaxed before we begin.
All right, I'm here for it.
I'll try and tone it down, Sean.
Our topic today. Sorry, Bill's here, obviously, because I said namaste to him. Katie already jumped in. Katie's here.
Bill still doesn't.
Sean, you're here.
Still doesn't know what namaste means.
Oh, really? It's the spirit within me honors the spirit within you, and it's usually like how you close out a yoga class.
And why did you think I would know that?
Sean thinks you do a lot of yoga after the improv
I was
classes,
doing,
probably.
doing a little deep breath beforehand, felt relaxed. My spirit was honoring Bill.
All right, we've bored these people enough. Let's move on.
That's accurate. All right, so we're here today to talk about comp strategy. The topic today has been formulating for a bit now. And high level, when you look at comp, not much has changed in the industry. And that probably actually applies over a broader period of time than we might expect, right? In the late 90s, 2000s, you see computer technology start to take off and help out. But I think a lot of that was just automating processes. So you take some of that manual labor out, but there's still a lot that we do that's manual.
Yes, that's true. It's true with a lot of systems where people refer to technology, which is really just automating the paper process. I always it's not comp specific, but performance review systems are notorious for that.
You can edit. You can click buttons now and edit it in there, but instead of just check marks or writing down feedback.
But it's not actually transforming or improving the way
the
or
product.
Slightly improves it, makes it maybe a little bit more efficient.
Right. It certainly doesn't make the line people go, "Oh, I love this process now."
Yeah.
And so when we look at the next evolution of what could happen as a result of the way technologies continue to evolve beyond automating manual processes, I think that's where the term comp analyst might get left behind, where what we're talking about is that in that world, you're getting rid of those manual processes, legitimately getting rid of them, and not just interacting with a computer to do them. And instead, the technology becomes your analyst. And so in this world, what that frees you up to do, and I'm not going down a path of how is AI and machine learning going to affect your job? Look at these highest rated jobs that are going to be affected by AI, because I have a thoroughly different view on that than what we've typically been hearing in the press. Not that anybody comes to me for quotes, but if you want to, you can reach me. It's coffee@payfactors.com.
Let me write that down.
But I think one of the trends that you would see with this one potentially is that if the technology becomes your analyst, then you get to become a comp strategist. You get to use all of this insights and data that you can produce with the machine to actually be more thoughtful and strategic in your work.
Yeah, I would say the data and the analysis is the foundation for the job. But historically, it's been the job.
That's right.
And so the analyst role was truly an analyst role. It was one about collecting and processing data and creating reports. And with technology, a lot of that stuff can be theoretically at the push of a button. And now that person who was an analyst has the opportunity to be much more strategic, focus on a higher level, understanding the data, but using it for strategic business purposes, focusing on what's important to the organization they work at.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost, to put like an exclamation point on what you're saying, it's almost a joke within the industry to say, well, we're always busy. We're always bogged down in these seasons, right? We have salary budget season. We have survey participation season. We have
open enrollment.
We have performance and planning season, merit season. We have all these seasons, so we're always busy. But what that connotes is that if I'm to draw a picture of that in my mind, what that looks like to me is there's all these papers piled up on your desk, right? If you think about it like in the old world way, your inbox, your physical inbox is full with all these seasons that we know we have to go through and all the work that entails. And in the meantime, you're getting all these one-off requests. We need to hire this job. We need to make sure that this department's up to market. We need to, right? All those are piling in. And by the way, those are urgent, right? Whatever season you're in, I don't care. I need this back. So if you think about it in a mental way, that's how, in my mind at least, in my very, very rudimentary mind, that's how that comes to life, where this can help you break out of that. Because in theory, if this is set up well, and that's the term that I like to think of when I think about this first stage of being a comp strategist, you're organized. You have all your data in one place to the point that you were making so that you can better leverage it.
Yes, and being organized is not strategic. It's a key to being strategic. Having all that information at your fingertips.
Like the foundation.
Right. And I think some people mistake, they think that, there's a phrase, knowledge is power, and they think, I have all the data, therefore I have all the power. But it's again, not the raw data. It's a difference between data and information and understanding. And it's like you need to understand what that data means and what it tells you about the organization. And being able to access it quickly and have it synthesized, we can process way more data than, when I started my career. It's like, the phone in my pocket right now has more memory than the first computer I used at work.
What's the famous line? I think our smartphones have more technology in them than the first the NASA moon.
Right. Yeah, it was used to put the Apollo 7, 11 on the moon.
My mind's rudimentary as well.
Yeah.
Then was used to launch a man to the moon. How about that?
There you go.
There we go. But yeah, I think about it. What you're saying is right, and I think about this. I don't think she shared it on the podcast if you go back to the Patty McCord one, but one of the things she is notorious for saying is that in HR, if you want to earn a seat at the table, her comment historically has always been, well, learn how to read a balance sheet. What that implies in my mind in this instance is use that information to understand what your company wants to do, like the company KPIs, the company goals, right? However it is, the information that you sit on top of for most organizations is responsible for the largest part of that organization, right? Your information knowledge workers, the amount that you're spending to get out of that, right? We call it the human capital or whatever, but it's for the people that are there and what you're paying them to be there. And so how do you map that to the company goals? Because if you don't have the right people in the right spots, your revenue is not going to grow. If you don't have the right people in the right spots, you're not going to maintain your customers, right? There's a direct connection there. So it's understanding those KPIs and understanding how to leverage the data that you sit on to talk about those things.
Yes, and go even further and say it's understanding what people are driving, what parts of the organization, what's important to make that happen, and it's sort of we have probably mocked this too much already. The whole salary budget concept of salaries are moving 3% a year. That's all well and good, but it's not. Everybody, each person's salary needs to move 3% a year, and there are some people you have to take better care of. And you need to be strategic, you need to know who those people are. And it's not every person that threatens to quit. It's not every manager's...
Well, there goes my strategy.
It's not every manager's favorite employee. It's the people that are driving the differentiation for your organization, and just knowing how your boss's boss, the CEO, how they think about the business and what they want from compensation, what they want from HR is, thinking about it the way they think about it is probably a best way to get started in being strategic.
Yeah, if I'm to go back to another Patty McCord story, because it's Patty McCord Day, apparently. Shout out to Patty. One of the things that she also said was Netflix historically never garnered market data. The way that they would get it would be by having people go out and get offers. And that was how they determined somebody's worth relatively. One of the things that happened as a result of that is there was a specific engineer that went out and somebody made him an offer for twice the amount that he made at Netflix. And Patty sat back and was like, there's no way we can pay that. Talked to his manager, realized that this person was solely responsible, solely contributing to a really important part of the future of the business because he had this very distinct knowledge, and said, oh, then I guess we need to pay all the engineers like him also double, because otherwise we're going to get poached soon.
Well, right. She was smart enough, aware enough, and, tying to the theme, strategic enough to realize it's not that we couldn't afford to pay him, it's that we couldn't afford to not pay him.
Right. The future of the business is going to depend on this.
Right.
And that's where, if we go back to this organized premise, it's not just that you have, what we were saying there, all data in one place, which is have your employee data in there with real-time market data in there with survey data, whatever else you're using to make decisions about what the market is and how it's moving. But more importantly is going almost a step beyond job descriptions, having a way to have what happened in Patty's example was she had a conversation with that manager. If that doesn't scale, or if you don't have that ability, you need to have those skills, to your point, it's almost like the performance review part of it. How do you know who's critical to this business that honestly it just doesn't matter what we pay them because we need to for the future of the business or for even the maintenance of the business versus where can we be a little bit more traditional?
I mean, it's open dialogue with the people in the business. It's not hiding from them.
That's right.
And you're not just a service provider. The comp team is not just people that are spitting out market ranges and salary structures to the line managers. You should be interacting with the line managers. You should know what keeps them up at night. And some of those issues are going to be people related.
And you're going to get the feedback on, yes, this person is critical by talking to the managers, right? The comp person isn't going to necessarily have that information if they're not connecting with the line managers on a regular basis or as these things come up.
And there aren't a lot of systems that track those things. And, a system that understands all the strategic initiatives of a company and like all of the roles or all of the contributions of individual people and, even the sort of untapped abilities of some of those people. Like that, it's a
like I know you have the potential to do X, Y, and Z if we present you with the right project.
Yes. If we educate you well or if we tap into your passion or whatever. Yeah, so what you're saying is you need to be a comp strategist?
Yes.
Right.
So you need to be a comp strategist.
But that's what it opens you up to do, right? If you are able to rely on your technology to be the analyst, to have everything in one place where you can gather that data and be quick and responsive to handle those requests, it does open you up to have more of these conversations where you're more of a strategic partner.
Right. And I would say it's funny because you just said strategic partner, which to me is like two concepts. There's being strategic and being a partner. I think having all the data available and, understanding it, knowing what it means is critical, but also like having it internally available, like knowing key metrics and key facts off the top of your head so that when you're going to get coffee, as I have right here, as you're going to get coffee and you run into somebody and they ask you questions about, turnover rates. You should know that. You shouldn't say, well, let me go back to my office and, pull out a file or, look up, the turnover rate for the department.
6 weeks later, get back to you.
Or, and I'll go even further. You should know how you compare to your competitors, and like, are we losing more people to our direct competitors or are we gaining more people from them? Is it different by department? Like, no, you should know that stuff because by knowing that stuff or having a good sense, you project a sort of knowledge, awareness, and strategic value to the people that are looking to you for, advice and input.
Yeah, even in that example, you're taking it beyond one step of what traditionally is done. You're getting data that's very specific to you, which again, that should all be in one organized place. You should be able to have skill-specific stuff in there, right? Stuff that sets you apart in terms of your thinking. So an engineer is not an engineer in Patty McCoy's example, right? This engineer is really important because they have these critical skills that are dependent. The future of the business is dependent upon. Right. So being more thoughtful, taking that next step, and look, what gets in the way of that today, if I'm, to be fair, is responsiveness. There's always a season. We're always doing something manual. There's always requests coming in. There's always something else. So it's lining up, getting organized, and I'm using like a very basic term, but getting all of that stuff in one place so that you can at least be faster in your responsiveness in order to elevate what you're trying to do, right? That it's not just your day. We should never measure our productivity, any individual in an organization, by how many emails we respond to in a day. But that's effectively what we're doing when it's like all these requests coming in. I'm distilling it down to its most basic element. Right? It should be the value we're contributing to the business and making sure that it makes sense to the stakeholders within whatever request it is.
Right. And, some organizations that I'm aware of have either formal or informal bifurcation of their team into the, tactical response team, and
Right.
then the forward-looking strategic team, or so that that not everybody gets sucked into that today's emergency question.
Yeah, it's a pretty smart way to do it. I always call it on our team like the flossing the teeth, the things that you have to do. I know, it's weird. The things that you have to do.
Well, let the record show I just gave Sean a dirty look.
Someday we'll have a video in here and you'll be able to see the look that Bill gave me.
Sidebar, coming back to the video later.
But it's the stuff that you have to do versus those things that you need to do.
Right.
Right. And having that division isn't a bad thing. That way, if you would only do the things that you need to do and not the things that you have to do, you're going to be letting down some percentage of the organization at that point.
Well, and you never get to be strategic, and you never get to be
Fair too.
You never get to plan or execute because you're on a plan. Sorry, you never get to plan or execute because you're just constantly reacting.
You're like in the hamster wheel.
Yeah.
It is okay. So you have all this data, you're organized.
Because all that data is completely useless if you don't actually understand it, and you can't. Or if I understand it, but I don't know how to articulate it to you,
Right.
or to you.
So you have this data, you organize, the tech has become your analyst, right? Which is no small feat in and of itself. But let's assume that that's the case. Then, it's moving on to how do you interpret that? How do you communicate that? To whom are you communicating that with? Sounds like a fantastic topic for our next podcast.
I would agree with that.
We have a long summer ahead of us here. We'll have a lot more podcasts to come. We know you want to listen to our sweet, sweet voices with the top down heading out to the beach for the summer.
Okay.
I mean, yes,
Is this
absolutely.
getting too weird and personal for you, Bill?
Bill loves
No.
driving with the top down and the wind blowing through his hair.
I haven't had a convertible since like 1979.
Windows down.
Windows down. Okay.
With Comp and Coffee
Before we
bumping
end
out.
this, though, you just brought up video, and it was something that I wanted to kind of tack on to the end of this podcast. Anyways, it would be very simple for us to just start recording these. Do people actually have any interest in seeing these recordings? What happens in our fancy podcast studio? I don't know. If you do, email us in coffee at.
Do you want to see Bill's the looks Bill gives me 90% of the time while I'm talking?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. So if you want to see this, if this would be interesting, or it would be another way that you would engage with the podcast, like would you watch the video versus listening? Email
Live stream
us
on YouTube.
Yeah, we'd put them on YouTube. Email us at coffee@payfactors.com.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining us today. Hopefully this was beneficial. This is the first in a series where we'll start to talk about what it means to move from a comp analyst to a comp strategist. If you have your own thoughts on it, you're curious to dive into it more, we're always open to a conversation. Bill especially, he likes to call people as he's driving with his windows down, heading to the beach, listening to Comp and Coffee in the background. But if you want to talk about comp strategy and what the future might look like, please reach out to us, coffee@payfactors.com. Happy to entertain your thoughts, ideas, maybe even have you as a guest. Otherwise, we'll be back soon.
Namaste.